Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. We're getting into a soft glam look, so stay tuned so that you can know all the products and the techniques used to create this super soft glam look. All right, let's get into it. First, we're going to use our primer from One Size Secure the Glow. This primer is going to help our makeup stick to our face and last all day because that's exactly what we need. I'm applying this everywhere. Now let's get into these brows, honey. You know I love Got2B Gel. I'm using this for my eyebrows to achieve the laminated look. And you do not need a lot of gel, just a cute little pea size. And we're going to brush it throughout the brow and press down as you're brushing it. Now, the hack to this is you want to make sure all that buildup from yesterday that you use to do your brow, you do not clean your brow brush because basically this will work as a wax stick and helps to lay the brows down flat. As you can see, the brow hairs are laying seamlessly because I am applying the gel and I am pressing it flat until it's drying out basically. So you do not want your gel to still be wet on your brow. The more that you brush it and the more that you press it down, the quicker that it will dry out. And this is how your brow should look if you're trying to achieve that laminated look. Now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. And if you feel like the gel is still too wet, I like to use my finger to kind of speed up the process and remove that wetness. That way that it's still going to give us that laminated look. Now let's go ahead and get into the concealer. I'm using the Fenty Beauty Hydrating Concealer because it literally looks like skin, and I'm using the concealer brush from Sephora collection. This is an easy tool to use when you are trying to carve out your brows. Once you have applied the concealer the way that you want it to look, you can go ahead and blend the concealer downwards. And afterwards, we're going to use a different concealer brush in order to blend out the rest of the concealer. I'm now using the number 71 Pro Concealer Brush from Sephora, and I'm simply just blending underneath the eyebrow so it doesn't look crazy. I'm even blending in between the eyebrows, and a key trick or hack to this is where your nostril starts is where your eyebrows should begin. So we're just going to blend that and make sure that our eyebrows are sisters and not necessarily twins. And this look can be just done right here. We can be finished right here, but I want to go through with the Sephora Collection Brow Pencil in the color Chocolate. And I like to draw hair strokes. This is what gives my signature eyebrow look. It's giving lamination, but it's also giving natural. And it almost gives a microblading effect. So this is my technique that I like to use. And the closer you're getting to the tail, the straighter angle that the lines or the hair strokes that you're drawing are going to look because you're coming to the very end. And we're just going to repeat that on the other side. Now listen, ladies, this is why I love to use this eyebrow pencil and the brow gel combination, because there are other brow gels that if you try to draw with the pencil, it won't allow you to draw because it's so waxy. Anyway, we're going to go with the Nutmeg Setting Powder from Fenty Beauty, and I'm just using this for my crease lines so that it will set underneath the makeup, and once I finish my makeup, there will be no creasing at the end of the day. This is a great little hack that you can also use for your makeup and prep. We are going to be out all day, so I really want to make sure that I am pressing in this powder. I do not want my makeup to crease, and you can use this hack for any setting powder wherever your crease lines are, such as the eyelids, your smile lines, or your under eye. Now let's get into the Charlotte Tilbury foundation stick. I love to use this stick underneath my makeup as a concealer because it covers everything. I know you all probably can't see, but I do have dark spots and some hyperpigmentation, so I'm just covering those areas. This gives a nice radiant finish, so you can even just wear this by itself, but I'm wearing it underneath. I'm using the EcoTools brush. This is a very dense brush. When we use a dense brush, this helps us to have full coverage. So I'm just making sure that I'm blending the areas where I use the Charlotte Tilbury foundation stick. Now let's get into the fun part. We're getting into some color. I'm using the Ulta Beauty Collection blush. This is a duo blush that comes with cream and powder. So I'm going in using the cream first just to get that pigment going. And then at the end, we're going to set it with the powder side of this duo blush. Now the trick to any soft glam is using either hydrating products and or using a loose brush. So since this brush is loose, it is giving us light coverage as compared to it being full and super dark coverage. For my under eye brightening concealer, I'm using the Haus Labs concealer and I'm doing a different type of technique. It's basically an under eye triangle, but half of the triangle. It's not the same old technique that we used to do back in the day. And then on the very outer corners of the eye, I'm just going to do a little line. And then I'm going to get under my chin, all the areas that I want highlighted, and even a little area on my forehead. Now, since I'm not trying to do too much, I'm drawing very small strokes of the concealer, and I'm going to go in with the flat concealer brush to blend all this concealer into the blush. I'm going with this nice transition for the concealer and the blush. Now, y'all, I do not know if this is underpainting. I do not know if this is the Painted by Esther trend. I just see stuff on TikTok and I like the way people do their makeup, and I say I'm gonna try that. So please let me know down in the comments whose technique or style this is. I'm not sure, and honestly I'm not even sure if I'm doing it right. I'm just making sure that I'm blending everything with this flat brush and my other blending brush as well. Okay, now this is the example of a loose brush for light coverage. I'm using a tinted moisturizer from Rare Beauty. I know y'all thought I was going to use foundation, but I really do prefer the tinted moisturizer. I put 4 drops, so it's going to give more coverage than usual, but I'm still not trying to do too much because this is a soft glam. So I'm just blending it in all the areas where there is no color. Previously, we used the Charlotte Tilbury foundation stick, so we have a good amount of coverage underneath, but it's still giving natural. The reason why I don't want to use a foundation, or why I do not like to use foundation, is because I always look like a ghost. And I have almost every foundation, y'all. I have Dior, I have Haus Labs, and I even have Makeup by Mario, but I more so favor the tinted moisturizer or even a foundation stick. It just goes on hydrating and radiant, and the match is perfect. So now we're going to use the concealer flat brush and just blend the areas where we had the concealer and the brightening areas that we're going to be blending on our face. Now this to me is the most important part, the blending. I'm using this blending brush from e.l.f. and I'm just making sure that the areas where we have 2 different colors, wherever they meet, we are blending that out so there's no harsh lines. We want the makeup to look seamless. So that is the importance of having a blending brush. Now before we get ready to use any setting powders, we want to make sure that the area is blended. So sometimes the concealer will crease under the eye, and we absolutely do not want to set the makeup like that. So it's important to make sure everything is blended before bringing out any of the setting powders. I'm going to prep the eye area with the Fenty Beauty Hydrating Concealer and the flat concealer brush. This is how we prep the eyelid for eyeshadow and any eye makeup. So I'm just going through and making sure that I'm covering my whole lid with the concealer so that it does not look patchy. If you do not use enough concealer, it's going to look patchy and it's going to look a mess. All right, let's get into the setting powder. I'm using the Morphe setting powder in Banana, and I'm going to be using this under my eye and on my eyelid. So the trick to this, I'm not baking, I'm just setting. So I'm literally tapping it in and blending it in with my powder puff. You can get a powder puff from anywhere, Amazon or wherever you please. And I'm doing the same thing on the other eye. We're just going to tap it and blend it in as we are tapping it in. So this is setting the concealer underneath, and it's also setting the blush slightly. So when it comes to the eyelid, I'm always going to make sure that I am blending the concealer before applying the powder. And honestly, go happy with it and apply as much powder as possible because we do not want our eyeshadow to crease. So this is the trick and the hack. Make sure that you are applying your concealer to the whole eyelid, blend it out, and then set it with a setting powder before applying your eyeshadow. We are bringing back our lovely blush duo, but this time we are using the powder, and I'm using the same loose blush brush. And you're applying it just over the same area where we had the cream blush underneath. For this next layer, I'm going in with the Charlotte Tilbury bronzer. So this is just going to go right underneath the blush. Because I'm doing a soft glam, I'm not doing too much of the bronzer, and I'm only applying it underneath that layer of the blush. Finally, we're going in with some highlighter from the Fenty Beauty Killawatt Wattabrat. This highlighter is pink, so I like to put it over my blush. Even though this is technically a purple blush, they flatter each other, they complement each other. I'm going in with the Lorac Tantilizer, which works as a highlighter. I'm going to use it on my nose bridge, on my chin, and also on my forehead. Now we're going to go in with the Morphe Banana Setting Powder, and we're just going to set those areas where we use the highlighter and also the brightening concealer. Now my eyeshadow of choice for today is going to be the Huda Beauty eyeshadow pack. I'm using the brown shimmery eyeshadow, and that's all that I'm doing. I'm not doing too much. I'm not a pro at this, so I'm just going to apply one shadow on the lid and slightly above the crease and a little bit on the inner corner. Unfortunately, I don't have lash extensions, y'all, so we're going in with the Ardell Winx lashes. When I'm applying the lash strip from left to right, and I'm just adhering that inner part before worrying about the outer part. So it's okay, let it hang a little bit. And now I'm going to hold that inner part in place with my finger and bring the outer part to the lash line. I hope that made sense for y'all. So we're going to do it on this side. I move from left to right. So now we're working on the outer corner, making sure it's in place. And then I'm going to let it hang a little bit, but it's okay because the outer corner is secured. And I'm going to bring that inner corner to the lash line while I'm holding the outer corner with my finger. Now, to really make sure that everything is secure, I use the tweezers to clamp it. So I'm just going to clamp the extension with my natural lashes just to make sure that it sticks and it stays in place. I'm going to do this on the inner corner and outer corner of both of the lashes. Okay, we're going in with the Too Faced mascara just underneath because the setting powder got on the lashes, so it's looking a little ghosty under the lash line. So this is going to help everything blend and look black. And I'm also going to go underneath for my bottom lash line and just give it a little bit of falsy look. Now, while I was doing my makeup, I had on a lip mask from Laneige, and I just tapped that off so that my lips can be moisturized underneath. I'm using the Fenty Beauty Traced Out Lip Liner, and I'm also going to blend this with the Sephora Collection Bubblegum Matte Liquid Lip. Finally, I'm using everyone's favorite lip gloss from Fenty Beauty in Fussy, and I love my lips to look extra glossy, so you know I'm packing this gloss on. Lastly, we're using the L'Oreal Infallible Setting Mist, and we're just going to spray this all over because we need this to last. Make sure you're holding your breath when you're applying this and fan it off, and this is the final look, y'all. Let me know if you would try this look, and like, comment, and subscribe for more. See ya. Bye.